Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's J-Man. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm J-Man. And what a difference a week makes, eh? Yeah, we know a lot more about the incident with Philando Castile, but we still don't have full clarity over the earliest parts of the situation. And I went back and I listened to episode 39, and I got mad at myself for how fast I cranked out that episode and rushed to press without having more info. I guess I was stirred emotionally by all the sentiment that Castile was a nice guy, and for all intents and purposes, he still seems like he was, being the lunchroom supervisor, and the kids at school he worked at looked up to him. I even mentioned that I had not gotten a chance to review his criminal record, which I did. And I got duped by the media who portrayed him almost saintly, and then later learned that he has close to 40 traffic-related citations or charges to his name. Not a hardened criminal by any means, but not perfect like they originally acted. Like, he still did not deserve to get shot, though. I won't renege on that sentiment. But in the matter of people saying he was profiled, they're right. Marginally. He wasn't profiled for race. It came out that he fit the description of someone involved in an armed robbery just days prior, and the officer radio dispatched to notify that he was stopping the car for that very reason. Now, the downside of this info coming out is how his family has chosen to hone in on one sentence fragment of the description of Castile in relation to the armed robbery suspect: his nostrils. And I watched his uncle on the news ask, how do you stop a car for someone just because they have flared nostrils? And how do you even see that from inside a car? But he was stopped for this reason. His dreadlocks, his skin tone, and his age fit the description of the other suspect. The officer had his license plate that identified the car's owner, Castile, and then accessed his driving record, and the bountiful number of DARs gave the cop further credence to stop the vehicle. All right, you call it profiling. Fine. All right, but I went to school for this. I've done this. A man that has that many driving offenses deserves to be stopped to at least have his license ran for validation. All right, I don't care age. I don't care color of skin. It could be a woman. He could be a Muslim. He could be gay or straight. It doesn't fucking matter. If you have gotten into that much trouble, you should be stopped. Because who knows? Maybe you're not obeying the law. And they're trying to play it off now like he was caught in this cycle of poverty and he spent $7,300 on fines and he could never claw his way back to having a clear driving record. Well, I think we are ignoring a very important point here. He had so many DARs that it tells me that he knew he was doing something wrong and he just hoped he wouldn't get caught. A lot of us do that shit for all manner of reasons. But it's like, even though it's justified in your own mind, it still, from a societal level, comes across as a blatant disregard for the rules. Like, fuck the law, I got to get to work. Very true, but there's the bus. And worry more about making your driving record whole again, getting your license back before you just go and rack up another 8 fucking driving after revocations. 8 fucking driving after revocations. Governor Dayton's speech. Jesus Christ. I gave him praise last time for some of his candor. And I meant it to that degree. But, and this is a big but, I didn't hear the whole speech before I recorded. And now that I have, damn him for saying that if Philando Castile was white, I'm confident he'd still be alive.
I said, bullshit. You got to be kidding me.
His race had nothing to do with this incident. I don't care what all the people with their stupid fucking societal agendas want you to think about how the black man is held down in America. There's ample opportunity for people of color. It was the perceptions around his firearm that he mentioned that deeply affected the way the officer acted. All right? Nice of Dayton to throw gas on the fire by being a racial instigator and ignoring how the context of the officer's actions were deeply affected by the mention of a gun. And if you haven't heard by now, the officer who fired the shots that killed Castile is Hispanic. He's not Caucasian. So it's a cop killing a black man, normally they'd say, well, it's a white cop killing a black man. Ha! You fuckers don't have that card to play this time, do you?
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Dayton hit the nail on the head on many points. All right, but all of that was shit away, for me at least, the second he insinuated being white would have changed the outcome of a cop stopping someone with a gun, who more importantly stated he did, but at an inopportune time and said, officer overreacts. That's what happened. I heard an interview on July 14th with Chief Rick Mathwig of Roseville PD on local 100.3 FM KFan. And Chief Mathwig said it made him sick to his stomach to hear that no aid was rendered to Castile. Because that was my main point, is I can't believe they weren't working on this guy. But the media made it seem like they didn't do shit for him at all. So we were manipulated. So I still contend that the CPR should have been initiated right away. But Chief Mathwig said his officers who responded went to work on him and had Castile's blood stain their pants and boots from kneeling in it to render aid upon arrival. All right, this new information doesn't necessarily make me feel much better, but I can absolutely see this taking place the exact way it was described. They waited until the scene was cleared, standard procedure. They took Miss Reynolds and her daughter and put them in the back of the squad for their safety, not because they were under arrest, and even told her, ma'am, you're not under arrest at this time. And then they pulled Castile out of the vehicle, laid him on the pavement, which is all they had at the time. So don't say, well, they laid him on the street. That's what was available to them. You don't think about that when you're trying to save somebody's life, all right? And then the officers attempted to resuscitate him, but to no avail. As for Miss Reynolds herself, holy shit, right? She made the rounds. She's become a face of Black Lives Matter. But a few days ago, I saw a video by Dennis Michael Lynch that is titled, Philando Castile and Girlfriend Discredited. Boy, what an eye-opener that was. I mean, I have to go on record as saying that although I commend Miss Reynolds on her candor during her video, it didn't seem right to me. Everybody was blown away by it. Well, there's a reason. She was made a hero and the face of movement by Black Lives Matter overnight. She was thrust into massive media spotlight and on The View and Good Morning America and CNN. And after watching that video by Mr. Lynch, I now contend that her motive for taping the aftermath of the shooting was not solely about Mr. Castile's story getting out, but it was more or less about herself. Go ahead and watch that video, and you'll see that Reynolds' own mother calls her a narcissist and a social media addict. Right? Diamond Reynolds saw this as her moment of opportunity, her time to shine and earn 15 minutes of fame. Why do I feel this way? Well, I thought it was almost calculated upon initial view, her Facebook Live video, and I admit to a certain degree of emotionality being played into my previous episode, but that was more for the sake of how she was being lauded in the media outlets that I had seen. And further views of her video show someone who is not just unnervingly calm, but uncomfortably emotion-free in the face. Pay attention to her tone of voice. Oh my God, please tell me that my boyfriend did not just die. Officer, please tell me that you did not just kill my boyfriend. There's no change in her tone. There's no depth to her inflection. It's very hollow. Why? It's as if she was comfortable in front of the camera. Very much so. As the Dennis Michael Lynch video highlights a few excerpts of the hundreds of videos she has posted over time, many of them just days before the shooting. And the worst part, the child she was so concerned about and was being strong for is featured in multiple videos she has posted. Some where she's smoking weed with the child seated behind her in a car seat with Castile in the car. They're blazing up. And another where the girl's at home with Reynolds, and she's continually asking to ride her bike. And Reynolds keeps telling the girl, you can ride your bike later. You can do it later on. And she just keeps making this face at the camera yeah, you ain't riding your bike, girl. And later on in that same video, she's like, hey, y'all, don't have kids. Her sentiment is don't have kids because they require your attention, basically. And all while she's modeling a dress and dancing in front of a mirror to get ready for a Memorial Day barbecue.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
She made posts about being pregnant and has since posted videos smoking weed and drinking Hennessy after the fact. So you mean to tell me this media darling is a drug user, comments about not wanting kids, and drinks while pregnant.
God damn it!
You know, I truly hope more people see her for the attention seeker that she is. I hope that Child Protective Services gets involved, and she's called out for being, by common standards, a narcissistic sociopath and a shitty parent. Like, go ahead and look up the definition of a sociopath. It is, and I quote, a person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. Look at her dancing in the video. She's more concerned about how her boobs look than how her kid is, like, constantly asking for attention. And yeah, my kids do that shit too, and I sometimes say, no, we can't do that. But I don't do that and go, well, no, we can't go to the park. It's raining. God damn, I wish I hadn't had you. Like, that's the same sentiment she's sending out. And furthermore, sociopaths are normally quite calm in bad situations and had problems showing emotions when the average person would, and exercising a lack of empathy. My point here is that she wasn't calm due to shock when she was recording with his body in the car. She was calm because she has a mental disorder and seems to care very little for herself and her body and her child. She just plain damn loves herself too much to cry over Castile in the video. Like, examine some of her social media posts, and the video shows someone so enamored with their own appearance, it reminds me of Vanity Smurf, the cartoon character, or the actual Caravaggio painting of Narcissus, which, if you don't know, is a Greek mythological figure who saw himself in the reflection of a pool and fell so in love he lost his will to live and died there staring at himself. Pretty sick, huh? And as much as this whole ordeal has gone on ad nauseum in the 24-hour news cycle for days, we still have no insight beyond radio transmissions to discern if protocol was followed upon the initial contact between Officer Geronimo Yanez and Mr. Castile, other than, Miss Reynolds' accounts via Facebook Live, which for me is meaningless in the face of this new evidence about the content of her character. But I guess the real story with her, is the person we don't see when the camera's off, right? Or the woman she is on social media versus the national media, which is to say, instead of sitting up straight, prim and proper, talking very eloquently, and trying to play herself as a victim, she's somewhat despicable and a self-absorbed opportunist. The officer himself apparently had been sent to what is called bulletproof warrior training, to learn how to deal with situations like these, to learn how to be prepared and de-escalation tactics. But where did that get him? All right, I have always held on to a mantra that book learning only takes you so far when it's time for practicum, when it's time to get out on the street, when it's time to apply the knowledge. Right? You can train for an entire lifetime to react to a certain situation or to react to danger a certain way. You never know if what you've learned will be utilized upon the onset of actual danger, if you're going to be able to pull it off. Crunch time is very different than practicing in a classroom. I can tell you that from experience. All those different scenarios they made us act out, like, I get what they were trying to teach us to give us an example of how these would go, but honestly, we had actors that were off-duty cops. A lot of them, you could tell, they didn't care whether they were there or not. They were just getting some money. That didn't really teach us a lot. Like, I thought it was kind of hokey. So cops train and train and train. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be able to apply it. And with that heightened sense of danger, all Officer Yanez heard was gun. I have a firearm. So, as somebody else said in a Yahoo story, there was a black man from, I believe it was Arizona, and he said he was stopped. Same instance. Pulled over, didn't know why, had a firearm on him. The cop came up to the vehicle, and a lot like what I said in episode 39, he put his hands on 10 and 2 and said, I'm going to give you my wallet and my insurance card. So he did. Okay, I'm putting my hands back on the wheel. Here's the deal. I'm licensed to conceal and carry. I do have a firearm. How would you like me to proceed? And the officer told him, don't move. He opened the door. They took him out of the car. They removed the firearm. They ran his information, and then they gave him back his DL and his insurance card and his firearm. The mag was taken out, and the chamber was charged empty, and it was locked. Sounds like that officer knew what he was doing. So yeah, the way that Philando Castile presented the information that he had a gun and then his movements thereafter are what's going to be continually re-examined all the way to the point where they see if they're going to charge this cop with anything. And I forget if it was someone from the BCA. This was a felony level stop. He assumed that Philando Castile could be a suspect from an armed robbery. Here's what you do in a felony stop. You get out of your car and radio for another car for backup. And if you're going to still approach the vehicle, you go out, you walk up to the vehicle with your hand on your holster, or you walk up low ready. Predominantly, you're taught to go down low ready. And as I explained last episode, low ready is the gun is out, your hands are on it, and it's pointed across your body down at the ground at a 45-degree angle, finger out of the trigger guard. So there were two officers, and you only really hear about Yanez because he's the one who fired the shots that killed Castile, but it sounds to me like they didn't follow felony stop in progress protocol. Now, I can say that. I said that the cop was fucked, and he's still probably going to end up quite fucked. I don't know if I want him to be charged with a crime, because it could come out that Castile said, I have this firearm, and he starts to pull it out. And the cop didn't realize that Castile was just going to hand him the firearm or show him the firearm. No intention of pointing it at him or, using it. But I don't know. I'm not inside Philando Castile's head, and nobody is. Not even him anymore. So they're gonna look at that. And I guess I would say that anybody that's going to probably call me a racist for talking shit about Diamond Lavish Reynolds, I wanted to believe that she was being brave, because they showed you how she reacted in the back of the cop car. She was emotional, and I'd like to think that emotion was real. And her 4-year-old daughter was saying, it's all right, Mommy, I'm here with you. I'll pray with you. Very intelligent little girl. I mean, if anybody stayed admirably calm and collected in the situation, it's her. And don't think for a minute that this shouldn't be a bigger story now. And they've kind of touched upon it, but they don't really like talking about kids when there's tragedy, unless the kid's the victim of the tragedy, whereas the kid was just a witness and a bystander to what really transpired. But this girl has to live with this now, that she saw this shit. It's going to change the way that she views police officers. And sorry to say, the black community already do not like police. They don't like to cooperate with police. They wish there were no police. That's the sentiment I get from most people of color that I meet. Caveat here, the majority of them are inmates. So I guess you could say that their view is skewed, but whether or not they were in jail, they still had that mantra to begin with. It's all through their neighborhood. That's what they talk about. We don't talk to the police. We don't want them around. All they ever do is hassle us. And every media outlet has had dozens of people call in and say, I'm black and I've been profiled. I've been stopped before. You don't know what it's like unless you're black, that they'll stop you just for being black. I don't think you get stopped for being black. A lot of these people that cry racism come from areas that are predominantly black. And statistics have shown that blacks commit a disproportionate amount of crime. And I hate the word profiling because, there was a sexual assault 2 years ago on the University of Minnesota campus. And they were going to release the description of the assailant. And there was outcry that they were going to mention the race. People were like, well, why do you have to mention their race? That's not fair. You're profiling. No! Somebody's daughter was sexually assaulted. You better believe that father and that girl and law enforcement want every bit as much information about who did this as humanly possible to catch that motherfucker and bring them to justice. So they happen to be black. They could be black African. They could be Somali. They could be black from any number of parts of the world. There are people that look black. I knew a guy that was from Guyana, South America. People thought he was black, and he would always say, I'm not fucking black. I don't know why people think that I'm black, but I'm not black. I'm South American. I got that. I respected the hell out of that guy. He was intelligent. He served in his home nation's army. He was a cop. He came here. He became further educated. He became a bank loan specialist, and he works in the mortgage division. There's somebody that's not crying racism. And you might say, well, that's because he has money and he looks presentable. Well, that's the perception that we kind of have to approach, isn't it? Our own prejudices about how people look. And this shit about Castile was profiled just for being black and the whole nostril thing. Once again, you want to catch the suspect. You need that information. When you're trying to stop further crime or you're trying to apprehend the perpetrator of a crime, you're not worried about hurting their feelings, all right? You're not going to go, well, I think I know who it is, but I don't want to go talk to him about it because he's black and he might get a boo-boo on his ego because he's a person of color, and I don't want to be fingered as a profiler and a racist. That's why we have the phrase, fits the profile. Why is that a negative term? It's not so much that you're profiling as that you're projecting your own ideals onto somebody, and that might make you prejudice. And we're going to address prejudices in the next episode.
Roadhouse.
Think about your race, no matter what it is. That's statistical information. Your gender, your birth sex, your identified sex, your age, your hair color. If some guy robbed me for my wallet and all I notice is that he was white and had a tattoo on his right forearm of a skull and blonde hair from behind his mask, do you really think I'm going to call the cops and withhold that information and say, well, the guy that robbed me had a tattoo on his right forearm of a skull and he was wearing a mask? They're going to want to know his race. They're going to want to know his hair color. Descriptive information. It shouldn't be socially taboo to describe criminals based upon their physical attributes and characteristics. That is so fucking facetious. It's not profiling. It's doing a good job. Now, however, if you're a cop and you're only stopping black guys in cars because you think that they're going to commit more crimes just because statistically black people commit more crimes, that's wrong. We need to come up with a new term besides profiling, because I don't think it fits anymore. I mean, yes, we could still apply it, but it's like the glove with OJ in the courtroom. Odd association, I know, but visualize OJ trying to put that glove on. He couldn't get it over his thumb. I contest that he contorted his thumb to not get it on, and the glove should have fit. OJ killed those fucking people, or his son did. I go on record as saying that. But the glove didn't fit, so you must acquit. Profiling doesn't necessarily work as a term, so we should create a new one that doesn't demonize utilizing statistical information to catch bad guys and criminals. Imagine if Superman had to go on record as saying, I know I'm using a completely fake comic book character here, so bear with me. Imagine if Superman was like, well, I fucking saw Lex Luthor in that green suit that he wears all the time, and he was the one that did this shit. But, I mean, I can't just go get him. I have to look at all the other white people. I have to look at all the other villains. I don't want to profile Lex Luthor just because he's committed other crimes and he fits the profile of what I saw. No, you fucking go get Lex Luthor. You see a guy with green hair and white face paint and he's cackling like an asshole and he's wearing a purple suit. You don't go fucking looking for the Riddler. You go and you catch the Joker again. You put him in Arkham Asylum, and then through some convoluted series of events, he breaks out and kills some more people. I don't understand comic books. It's incredible why more people aren't just like shot in the face. Batman, shoot people in the face. So I'm just going to focus on the race thing in this regard also this last time. I don't care if Diamond Reynolds is white, black, Asian, or Latino. The way that she portrayed herself is not who she really is. And for me to call her despicable, I should get a bunch of black people telling me I'm racist for saying that. If you are honest in your heart and you view all people as human beings, someone that is going to get high in a car with a 4-year-old in the car seat behind him while their boyfriend just chills, like they were both okay doing that apparently on multiple occasions. She's got videos where she is drinking Hennessy while they're in the car driving. She don't care. She likes being a bad girl. And you can see from her videos, she's so very much in love with herself. She will stare. She just is just gazing at herself. And all of this, it makes me so disgruntled about how they made her so special and a media darling. She doesn't fucking deserve it. That poor little girl's getting raised by somebody who doesn't really give a shit. Here's another person, I'm not going to say another black woman, here's another person that has a kid they didn't intend to probably. And even if she did, she doesn't want. How many people out there would love to have a child but can't? And then all you can say is, yeah, you can ride your bike. When so-and-so get back from Miami, I wish I was down there with them having a good time. Don't have kids, y'all. Fuck you, Diamond Reynolds. I tried to find her Twitter account. I fucking couldn't. She's probably put it on either hidden status or maybe she took it down. I don't know. But if she was smart, the second that video came out trying to discredit her, somebody had to have told her because it looks like she's keeping a lower profile. She had to have some sort of media consultant at one of these major networks she visited tell her, oh, hey, by the way, if you could just turn down the cunt. Turn down the cunt. So that America can still like you. That would be so great because right now, I want to punch you in the face. I want CPS to get involved for the sake of that little girl. And I'd want them to do that no matter if the family was rich or poor, white or black, gay or straight, Muslim or Christian. The problem with social justice warriors is they want equality for everybody, but they don't understand that it doesn't happen overnight and that you can't just hammer a square peg into a round hole. Saying, I accept everybody, and I'm socially conscious, and how dare you not give black people more jobs, and women more this, and gays more that. You have to look at what you're seeking. Not that anybody doesn't necessarily deserve it, but have they earned it? That's the biggest thing for me, is that this social justice warrior mentality of entitlement for all. Everybody needs everything. Well, you know what? That's what separates us, and not having makes you strive to achieve, unless you're a worthless sack of crap, and then you have nothing, and you deserve to have nothing because you're not fucking trying. Succeeding in life is about busting your hump, not about resting on your laurels. So I don't understand why they're demonizing people that work hard and have things. Like, how dare you not share everything you have with people that don't have it? Well, I did the work to get here, motherfucker, so who are you to tell me that I need to share my toys? No, you get a job. You go to college. You earn your way. And it shouldn't matter the color of your skin because in this country, racism is looked down upon. You could say it still exists, and it does, but the people that are racist, are sexist, are against gays and homophobic, they get looked down upon now. The coin has flipped. Consciousness is up. Intolerance is down. Look at the gay marriage amendment. Don't act like we're going to hand everything to everybody on a silver platter, or that we should stop arresting black males in predominantly black communities who are committing crimes just because we don't want to offend blacks. And don't act like somebody telling a black person they're doing something wrong is a racist. That's just the card you play. That's why it's called the race card. That's why when I did my episode 23, I Support Theo, I talked a lot about a lack of accountability in the black community. There's all this fucking outrage that a cop shot a guy, and it's deserved in the fact that he didn't deserve to die, but you instantly wanted him to be a white cop so you could demonize him. And you can't say anything bad about Philando Castile or you're racist. You can't say anything bad about Diamond Reynolds because you just want to pick out the negative aspects of her life to assassinate her character, and that's not it at all. Where's the outrage for the black-on-black crime? Black-on-black violence accounts for more violence for blacks than any other race against blacks. Blacks in America kill each other off in record numbers. There's always shootings. Most of the gun violence we hear about in black communities is black people. Much like when some guy walks into a Planned Parenthood clinic with an 8-day beard looking like a cracked out Kenny Rogers, and he starts shooting up the joint. He's a white, right-wing, conservative Christian idealist. Predominantly white area. It's demographics. The Colorado shooter, the one that went to the Dark Knight preview and shot the whole place up. White, mainly white area. Columbine, predominantly white school. That's demographic information. But it doesn't mean that whites are more prone to kill whites or blacks are more prone to kill blacks. That's just what happens. Blacks kill blacks more than anything. Where's the fucking outrage? Why don't you hold each other accountable? So that in mind, why don't you rage out against Diamond Reynolds for acting like she's a hero when clearly she's not? She's an opportunist. She's a fucking jackal. She has come to pick at the scraps, hoping to achieve, if only for her own cause of herself. I feel bad for the cop, but he didn't do his job the way he was trained, so he should suffer to some degree for it. I don't know if he should be charged with murder. He might cop a manslaughter charge. He's probably going to lose his job and his post-certification. On the whole, episode 39, it was not just a tribute to a man that for most accounts was a decent human being. Although now I see he kept shitty company. More so, it serves as a cautionary tale for myself on discussing with the audience current events that are too fresh to make proper opinions about. I listened to the episode again, and I wanted to shout out, "Shut up, J-Man! You need more info! Reynolds is an evil bitch, and Dayton is an idiot! Stop it! Stop giving them props!"
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
More or less, I just wanted to point out with episode 39 that, like the title says, Philando Castile was a human being. To me, he wasn't a black man, solely. He was an American who died due to poor judgment by multiple people, but more or less, he's a statistic in the realm of American police culture and our crazy gun culture. And I wish it would change. I wish it wouldn't be this way. And I wish people that are protesting his death would stop lining up on fucking freeways. That's another thing. Let me just cut to that before I wrap it up here. There were people online saying, well, they have a right to protest, and oh no, you were late for work. Why the fuck do you have to do it on the freeway? You're making a situation where it's unsafe for other people. And somebody said to me, an old high school friend, well, you do realize that to bring about change, you got to rage out and you got to force the change. Kind of, but not really.
Wrong. Try again, dumbass.
In this day and age, you have to do it intelligently, because all Black Lives Matter is doing right now is assassinating their own cause. All you're getting are people like, God, fuck Black Lives Matter, and not for being black. Fuck them for inconveniencing people that aren't tied to the cause, that have nothing to do with the systemic racism they claim is going on in America. I put myself in the shoes of one of the drivers. All right, every time there's one of these freeway protests where they block traffic, I envision myself driving down the road. I've got my girls in the car. They're 3 and 5. They're little kids. They don't understand this shit.
Hey, Sipboard.
So if I have to slam on the brakes, I might still hit somebody who's protesting, because you're going to stand your ground, right? But more importantly, I'm going to slam on the brakes, and the car behind me might not react in time. They might rear end me. Odds are they're going to rear end me at a speed of 65 to 80 miles an hour, because it's the fucking freeway. That's going to kill my children. So now, what? I'm just supposed to go, well, these people are out here protesting for a very important cause, and I'm hurt that my children are gone, but I guess I should be proud that they died as collateral damage in the fight against racism. Their deaths were not in vain, because we're going to bring about change, right? No amount of revolution is going to make me feel better about the fact that my daughters are dead. Stand on the fucking shoulder, dickwads. Hold up your signs. You can protest. Your voice can be heard. You can get your cause out there. Don't create a situation that's unsafe. I don't even care about the inconvenience factor for people that were late to work. Hopefully a boss would understand, well, you should have left earlier to plan ahead for... Yes, I'm going to leave for work 4 hours before I'm supposed to be here, just in case a bunch of assholes are standing on I-35 blocking a bridge.
Uh-oh, retard alert.
Brilliant. Unfortunately, bosses like that exist. No, I'm focusing on the fact that there's a possibility for loss of human life and great bodily harm. I don't want to see that. Intelligent, respectful people don't want to see that. And if you think that standing out there with signs crying about police brutality is more important than human life, well then no lives matter to you. You don't care. So fucking stop.
Shut up! Shut up!
You want to go protest at the mall and shit? Fine. Do that. Because you're inside of a building and You might inconvenience some shoppers, but you're not going to stop money from switching hands and goods and services being purchased. But don't go to the airport on the busiest travel day of the year. That's fucking selfish. It accomplishes nothing, and it makes people hate you, disdain you, and want your cause to die out. Learn from your mistakes and stop pulling this shit. You're going to march down the street, march down a single fucking lane. But don't go on the freeway. Hang a banner across an overpass. People do it on 9/11 every year. They hang flags. Fire trucks park there and wave flags. They hang banners that say 9/11, we will never forget. We're remembering the victims. We're protesting against terrorism. We're showing our patriotism and our care for our fellow man and American. And you can do the same. You just have to find the right outlet, channel it properly. Don't tell me you need to use these fucking guerrilla tactics where we need to trash the place so people pay attention. No, you don't need to be destructive. You need to be intelligent. People aren't listening because you're not doing enough to shock their consciousness. They're not listening because you're portraying yourself as uncaring and inconsiderate of those around you. You're not saying the right things because you're too busy shouting at the cops and shouting obscenities. Now, I'll admit when I get angry, I cuss, but I've learned that you don't name call and you don't swear when you get angry, and that totally diffuses the situation because the other person gets hot and you don't. And that's called being a dick. So said Murderface in an episode of Metalocalypse. So I hope justice will be served. I hope Diamond Reynolds will be held accountable. I hope this cop doesn't end up getting killed. I hope he doesn't end up killing himself. I hope people aren't inspired to go murder police officers because of one person's bad judgment or the unfortunate totality of the circumstances. That's a law enforcement term. To the situation that transpired every time somebody's shot. This was not Laquan McDonald in Chicago walking down the street more than 10 feet away from an officer, and a cop gets out of a car and instantly puts 16 rounds in a kid in under 13 seconds. All right, Philando Castile was killed, but he wasn't murdered. So I'll say that. We just need to learn to more intelligently communicate with each other, face the ugliness, stop trumping up things that aren't as bad as they really are, and take them for face value. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm J-Man, and that's the end.
Turn down the cunt!